Hello student, today I am going to give a lecture on the subject Indian economy, and today's topic is problem and prospects of Indian agriculture. The condition of Indian agriculture is still largely remains backward, although it is considered as backbone of Indian economy. Agricultural productivity, which is composed of both productivity of land and labor as well as in among the lowest in the world. Agricultural yield per hectare in India is quite below the world average in all crops. It is much lower compared with even the yield rates prevailing in less advanced countries in the world. And there are so many problems that Indian agriculture is facing in our country. Major problems faced by Indian agriculture are low productivity, irrigation, lack of storage facilities, transportation, water supply, decreased farm size. So, the word agriculture is the English adaptation of Latin agricultura from ager, a field, and cultura, cultivation in the strict sense of tillage of the soil. Agriculture, also called the farming or husbandry in the cultivation of animal. Agriculture does not include only the agriculture of crops. It also includes the cultivations of animals, fungi, and other life forms for food, fiber, biofuel, and other products used to sustain the life. The history of agriculture dates back thousands of years, and its development has been driven and defined by greatly different climates, culture, and technologies. So, in Indian agriculture, agriculture has a significant history. Today, India ranks second worldwide in farm output. Agriculture and allied sector like forestry and fisheries accounted for 13.9% of the GDP in 2011-12, about 50% of the total workforce. The economic contribution of agriculture of India's GDP is steadily declining with the country's broad-based economic growth. And agricultural productivity is declining day by day due to the lack of lack of irrigation facilities, lack of technology, lack of fertilizer. There are many causes that leads to depletion in the production of agriculture sector. Still, agriculture is demographically the broad-based economic sector and play a significant role in overall socio-economic fabric of India. So, what are the problems that Indian agriculture are facing nowadays? Is first is the inequalities in land distribution. The distribution of agriculture land in India has not been fairly distributed. There is uneven distribution of land of agriculture. So many of the farmers are holding a small pieces of land. The average size of agriculture's holdings in India is very small and uneconomic, and it is even less than 2 hectare or 5 acres. With such uneconomic and fragmented holding, no scientific cultivation with improved implements, seeds, etc., are even possible. This has resulted in low yield in Indian agriculture. Rather, there is considerable degree of concentration of land holdings among rich landlord, farmers, and moneylenders. But the vast majority of small farmers own a very small and uneconomic size of holding, resulting to high cost per unit. Moreover, a huge number of landless cultivators has been cultivating on the land owned by the landlord, leading to lack of incentive on the part of this cultivator. So now next is Next problem which the Indian agriculture is facing is tenure system. Land tenure system practiced in India has been suffering from lot of defects. Insecurity in tenancy was a big problem for the tenants, particularly during the pre-independence period, which still prevailed in some extent due to the absence of absentees, landlord, and benami transfer of land in various states of the country. So even even after the abolition of Jemadari system and enactment of tenancy legislation, the position of the tenants is still far from satisfactory. The main reason behind that is that the cultivators strive to pay high rent to the landlord and are subjected to frequent ejections, ejectment by the landlord. All this have led to the lack of incentive and confidence on the part of cultivator to make provision for any permanent development of their land. So next is poor farming technique and poor farming technique and agriculture practices. So the farmers in India has been adopting orthodox and inefficient method and technique of cultivation. It is only in the recent year that the Indian farmer has been started adopting improved implements in agriculture. So it is only in the recent year that the Indian farmer has started to adopt improved implements like steel plug, steel drills, barrow hose. And later, a few years ago, the farmers are using the old techniques. They are using the wooden plugs and other implements they are using. That's why the productivity of the agriculture sector was very low at that time. Such adoption of traditional method is responsible for low agriculture productivity in the country. So next is inadequate use of input. Indian agriculture has been suffering from inadequate use of inputs like fertilizer and HYV seeds, high yielding seeds. Indian farmers are not applying sufficient quantity of fertilizer on their land. Moreover, the supply of HYV seeds in the country is also minimum. Um, Indian farmers are still applying seeds of indifferent quality. There are no sufficient financial ability to purchase good quality high yielding seeds. So the farmers are unable to buy the high yielding seeds and at good quality of fertilizer due to the financial problem faced by them. So next point is inadequate irrigation facilities. Indian agriculture is still suffering from lack of assured and controlled water supply through artificial irrigation facilities. So, due to since in India the farmers are depending on rainfall, and now the rainfall is very low, so the farmer is facing the problem in irrigations to getting irrigation facilities. Thus, the Indian farmers have to depend much on the rainfall, which is neither regular nor even. The proportion of irrigated land to total or cropped area is only about 53%. Indian farmer, mm, whatever irrigation potentials that have been developed in our country, a very limited number of our farmers are avail the facilities. In spite of vigorous program of major and minor irrigation projects undertaken since 1951, the proportion of the irrigated land to total cropped area now come to about 53%. Therefore, in the absence of assured and controlled water supply, the agriculture productivity is low in India. So, next is absence of crop rotation. Proper rotation of crop is very much essential for successful agriculture operation, as it helps to regain the soil fertility. As the farmers are mostly illiterate, as the farmers are mostly illiterate, so they are not very much conscious about the benefit of crop rotation, due to which the land losses is fertility. Continuous production of cereals on the same plot of land reduce the fertility of the soil, which may be restored, which may be restored if other crops like pulses, vegetables, etc. are grown there. As the farmer are mostly illiterate, so they don't have any knowledge of the benefits of crop rotation. They don't know how to make soil more fertile by rotating the crops, by growing different crops at different seasons. So next point is lack of organized agriculture marketing. Indian farmers are facing the problem of low income from their marketable surplus crops in the absence of proper organized market and adequate transportation communication facilities. So, Indian farmers are facing the problem of low income from their marketing surplus in the absence of proper organized market. Since there is no organized market for the agriculture product, so farmers are facing in marketing their crops agriculture product, and adequate transportation. Due to the adequate transportation facilities also, they are facing many problems. Scattered and subdivided holdings are also creating serious problem for marketing their product. Since their lands are scattered and their holdings are in small parts, so that also cause problem in marketing of the product. Agriculture marketing is also facing the problem of marketing farmers produce in the absence of communication facilities also. Therefore, they fell into the clutches of middlemen for the speedy disposal of their crops at an uneconomic and cheaper price. So their agriculture products are marketed to the final consumer at cheaper price. So the middlemen who are a mediator of that marketing a mediator of the agriculture product, or who are enabling the farmers in marketing their products, they sell their agriculture product in cheaper rate. Now the next is agricultural indebtedness. One of the greatest problem of Indian agriculture is its growing indebtedness. The rural people the rural people are borrowing a heavy amount of loan regularly for meeting their requirements need for protection, consumption, and also for meeting their social commitment. Thus the debt passes from generation to generation. Indian farmers falls into a debt trap as a result of crop failure, poor income arising out of low price of the crops, ex- extraordinary high rate of interest charged by the moneylender, manipulation and use of loan account by the moneylender, and use of loan for various unproductive social purpose. Although they borrow every year, but they are not in a position to repay their loans regularly, as because either loan are larger or their agriculture production is not sufficient enough to pay their past debts. Thus, the debt of the farmer gradually increasing, leading to the problem of rural indebtedness. Thus, it is it is quite correct to observe that Indian farmer is born in debt, lives in debt, and dies in debt. Died in debt. So this is the also cause of poor indebtedness. There are so many other causes, which include lack of adequate finance, lack of productive investment, and lack of finance. In lack of finance, Indian agriculture still remain backward due to the adequate financial provisions. Until recent times, farmers had to depend much on village money lenders who charge high rate of interest to repay which the farmers had to part with their land and become landless agricultural laborers. Other financial institutions, although exist, their contribution are almost insignificant in quantity. And there is one more reason for the backwardness of agriculture sector, that is lack of productive investment. There is nearly absence of productive investment in Indian agriculture, as the investment in Indian agriculture land is found to be less attractive than the alternative investment in jewelry trade and money lending. This also adds up to the one of the cause of low agriculture productivity in the country. So there is one more reason, and that also we can include in our content, that is lack of high yielding seeds. Indian farmers are still applying the seeds of indifferent quality. They have no sufficient financial ability to purchase good quality HYV seeds. Mostly the farmers are applying traditional variety of seeds whose average yield is just half of the yield of improved variety of seeds. The Indian farmers are not applying sufficient quantity of fertilizer also. Constant cultivation of land cause deterioration of fertility of soil. For revitalizations of soil fertility, application of various type of fertilizers is required. But due to the financial problems, due to the land, most of the farmers are not have adequate amount of land, but and they are not able to grow they are not able to grow the required productivity in their agricultural land. So that's all about that's all about in this session. Thank you so much.